Hello, everyone. How many hellos was that? I think I got enough in. How is everyone doing? It's already Wednesday? No News Wednesday. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, John. Good morning, Patrick. There we go, OD Green. See, now we're getting music quotes in there. I got to put this one back up again in the worlds of Axl Rose. Where do we go? Where do we go now? Little Guns N' Roses, GNR. Good morning, Dean. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Anissa. How are you doing? Did I remember your location? Anissa was watching Future's Edge yesterday. Did I get your location right, Anissa? If I didn't, I'm sorry. I think that's right. I got so many things going on in my head. Try to remember everybody and even where they're from. Good morning, Royal Palms. I really do, as I appreciate every one of you that tune in. And I got to say good morning to Rusty on Rumble. Thank you for tuning in over on Rumble. And remember, at least, even if you're not going to watch on Rumble, at least go subscribe to the channel, because let's say something happens to YouTube at some point, you know where to find me. We got three places. We got X, we got YouTube, we got Rumble. Already been banned from X once. So, been demonetized from YouTube in the past. So I got three alternatives now. So at least subscribe to all three. At MG Arnold on X. You already, if you're watching on YouTube, Path Trading Partners, and on Rumble, Path Trading Partners. All right. So therefore, you have. And by the way, if there's ever a live stream canceled, as long as my X feed is working just fine, I will announce it on X. That's why you should follow me on X at MG Arnold. So you can at least know if I need to cancel a live stream, if there's an emergency or something else happens, or there's technical difficulties. You know, something like that can always happen. That's where it will. That's where I will let you know that there is no live stream. Oh yes, I did get Anissa's. Great. I'm so glad you spend all this time to tune into all the different shows, Anissa. You're welcome. Don't forget to hit the like. I agree. Hello, Charles. Can we go over Apple? Yes, we can. I got it, Royal Palms. Again, they're announcing what, 100 million more investment in this. It'll pop on that, but it's been in this range. We looked at it yesterday on the Futures Edge briefly. Yeah, I got you, Royal Palms. I got you. Where you live in? Well, you live in Baltimore, the Baltimore area. And what is it? What county? Baltimore? Is it the Baltimore County? Baltimore City County? I remember. I used to live over there for a while. I was working on some projects over there. I can't talk about what projects I was working on, but I was working near. The airport. The airport. Not too far from G&M crab cakes. I love a good G&M crab cake. Can't talk about the project, though. Good morning, David. So, I'm familiar with that area. I am familiar with them. I'm familiar with a lot of areas because I've lived in a lot of different cities. Thought you would think the lowercase L was an I again. I got you, Royal Palms. No problems. All right, let's get to it. All right, we got mortgage rates dropped slightly. It's super quiet. We had cash and carry already speaking this morning. It wasn't on the thing. Neil Kashkari, I'll say his name correctly. Cook speaking this afternoon. We got the EIA numbers. That's it. And if you're not a crude trader, don't worry about it. We had the little reversal yesterday from the ISM numbers with prices going up, employment going down. So, good morning, Sterling. Happy vacation. Rick, you're not supposed to spill the beans? Yes, it is. There's lots of stuff around there. There's lots of agencies around there. There are. All up and down. All up and down. So on the way from essentially Baltimore to D.C., lots of three-letter agencies. All right. S&P value, you have Apple up on the little pop. You have AMD. People do not like their guidance in China, down 5%. I talked about the percent B buy. If there's any left on that, it's going to be stopped today. What else? We have Dell. Dell's doing a restructuring and laying off. They're laying off like all their new, I can't call it new products, new business recruiting division. Like the people with sales dedicated to new business, they're laying off the entire team. McDonald's is up. McDonald's is up. People are spending more money at Mickey D's. So that's where we stand. Mega caps, NVIDIA and chips pulling back. Well, Broadcom's up slightly. Remember, NVIDIA and Broadcom have a potential double top in place. May never trigger. Something I am keeping an eye on. That's where we sit today. If we look at let me do a quick refresh. We've got energy, consumer cyclical, financial technology up. Pretty much everything's up except industrials and healthcare. Energy leading it today. There is a potential percent B buy in crude going into the EIA numbers. That's why I'm keeping an eye on yesterday's high in crude. We have an 87% chance for the rate cut, and then 1, 2, 3, still 3 cuts on the table for this year. We have fear and greed back to neutral mode. We have the Schiller. Oh, markets are dirt cheap. 37.88 Schiller PE. Buy it all. Uber, I believe that was Shopify was a beat. Snap is in the toilet. McDonald's was a beat. Disney, I did look at and I don't remember. Uber was also this morning, but nothing really to talk about. After the close, what do we have? Nothing. I mean, we have companies reporting, but nothing is going to be market moving. If you own one of these companies, you have to pay attention to it, but there's nothing even to talk about. Like, I'm not going to talk about AppLovin. Oh, AppLovin's releasing earnings. Maybe if you own it, great. But nothing to talk about there. Tomorrow, ConocoPhillips, Lilly, Sony. But again, nothing market moving. Nothing really market moving the rest of the week. So that's where we sit there. This is a very quiet week. Remember, tomorrow we got the unemployment numbers. So there I have Disney actually up here. There I go. Disney was a miss on revenue. Sterling, I'm so happy you're on vacation, but I miss you being able to put up the numbers. I really miss that. But Sterling needs a well-deserved vacation. I just let you know I do miss it. That's how important Sterling is. So, DraftKings, we are in full gambling society between 0-day options and can you even get away from sports betting at all? Everything. I feel bombarded. It's like it's either a pharmaceutical company or a sports betting company ad. It's like, all right, maybe I could just gamble with my life. Gamble with my life, taking some pharmaceuticals. I could bet on it too. Will this drug kill you with their 18,000 side effects you could possibly get? I love when the side effect from taking this drug is death. Okay. So, market pullback yesterday, still back down after hitting in the key rollover zone, retesting it from the underside. If we look at the little thing, I'm keeping an eye on this channel. But, as I did on Futures Edge yesterday, here's what I'm keeping an eye on also. Let me just change the color on this so we can all see it. Got too many things up here. If we break down below this channel line, I'm focusing between these lows from end of day yesterday, which are right around 63.13, 63.08. That's the first area I look. We break below that, I'm focusing on 62.91. We close below that, I'm focusing then on the breakdown, the retest of Friday's lows, and possibly filling out the ABC correction. The only thing, we have a very key level around 63.57. That's an area. Right around 63.57. We break above there. I'm looking for a return to 63.70 to 63.77 for key resistance. If we break through there, 63.82 on the daily closing basis. That shifts me to back up for longer into more consolidation at the more recent highs. Still, though, I'm focusing more on the rollover play unless we can get through 63.57. Good morning, Ted. At least drugs will mention side effects. That's a true statement, David. You know, they put the little thing like the little 1-800, I don't even know what it is. It's an 800 gamblers thing. That's why we don't get this. People who come on here and say, "Oh, this is gambling." No, if you don't know what you're doing, it is, or if you're just throwing money around, or if you're trading like NFTs or some of these weird cryptos, it is. Other than that, you know, as long as you manage reward to risk, as long as you can get your probabilities straight, as long as you have targets and stops, still doesn't mean you'll be successful, but it's not gambling. So that's where we sit in the S&P, still with this sort of corrective channel, watching for the rollover play unless we can bounce strongly. And then remember, it's the 62.5 level on a closing basis to really solidify next moves higher. If that were to happen, then I'm still going at the 75s, and pretty much we could then run to near the top of the channel again. Then the market will have shrugged off everything again. Also remember, for the people just tuning in that don't tune in every day, we are still trying to get lower on the cycles after bouncing off the rotation zone. Also, as I talked about yesterday on the futures edge, this could turn into a sideways correction and not an ABC. That's why I'm paying very close attention to that 62.5. NASDAQ did break below this channel I was watching before. I can expand the channel, but it doesn't fit as well. It's kissed it from the underside. The only way in the short term today I can get bullish is above 23,245 area. There is a significant level right around there. It's 243 to 245. Above there, then I'm looking for a return to this consolidation area, right around 23,350 to 23,370. And then the key level for me to retain bullishness is, and back in the consolidation at higher levels, is 23,444 roughly. If we break down, same difference. Why am I being patient? Because we're going to have Trump talking today. Besides, we know he's going to announce something with a $100 million Apple announcement, which could juice markets enough. But if we roll over, remember, we came back down from this low to high. I just put on the green harmonics. We came down between the 50 and the 62.5, and so far we're bouncing. So we start breaking below the 50 again, which is roughly 23,090. I'm going to be focused on 23,011. We close below there. I'm going to start watching for a retest of the 23,932 and 23,853. Other than that, right now, this market is in no man's land for me. So for my style of doing things, no man's land, if I don't have a great setup, it's literally no man's land. I need it to either break out or break down or go to prior support or resistance and form a pattern. Right now, there is no pattern at all for the time frames I look at. Maybe you have one, I do not. The Dow I do have a pattern on. Normally don't day trade the Dow, but this is key. We have a trend line going up with the defining point right here at the 10 a.m. low. We have this is a broad base double, but it's a double nonetheless. First thing I'm watching for is a break of this trend line, and especially a break below 44,240. We break below there. I'm looking for 44,040 area. We close below there. I've triggered a mini double top. That would take me back near the area of Friday's lows. That may not trigger. My bullish move on the Dow is above 44,492 is a significant level. I'm really looking at 44,500. All right. So that's the pattern I'm watching the most going in the open. The Russell, I mean, it's bouncing back. I'm going to be watching today if it closes above 2240, because then I'll go back into consolidate. As I talked to yesterday on futures, that I'll be back in consolidation mode into, yeah, we could retest this super choppy area. And it would mean also the double is invalidated. Now, if we trade intraday above 2259, the remaining targets on the double is invalidated. If we close above 2240, the remaining targets on the double are invalidated also. What is this, Rick? What's Rick putting in? Speaking of gamblers, estimates of day traders globally, one report indicates that approximately 9.6 million traders exist globally, with the largest concentration in Asia. Especially, look at South Korea has a lot of them. Thank you for. I did not realize those numbers. I'm considering quitting. I don't know how you guys keep doing this every day. It's really an addiction. Now, I go disagree. If you're addicted to this, then you should step away. Again, if you can't take a break from a market, if you need to trade every day, then because there aren't setups, I've talked about that. There's not good setups. Like today, there's nothing. S&P and NASDAQ, they're in no man's land. The Dow does have a potential setup, might never trigger. The Russell, like let's say I was only a Russell trader, I'd look at this and go garbage. There is not a setup going into the open. All right, for me. But if you find a need to trade dark screen, you know what? If you don't consistently have a trading plan and a consistent set of, or a consistent methodology, then yes, you are gambling and you should step away from the markets until you do have that. Hey, Christoph, how you doing? The VIX. VIX still staying slightly elevated. It's another thing I'm keeping an eye on. Now, if the VIX starts trading below yesterday's low, I'll go more into bullish mode again in the short term, especially if we break those key levels we talked about. DAX, back to the breakdown zone. Trying to put in a topping pattern. So we have to measure, remember, measure. And did this, if I put it on the other harmonic so you can see it better, is this officially a double? No. What this would be is a horizontal channel. So I will be watching roughly if the DAX breaks below 23,865, 870 area, I'll watch for the breakdown. On any bounce up, I'm watching against key resistance. The key resistance is around 24,050. Again, is it my first thing I look to? No, would not. I am paying attention to it, especially on the breakdown, though, because it's got rejected here from the prior support becoming resistance. I am watching for the breakdown in it, but it has to prove itself. Yields, possibly a little bounce, possible percent B buy, back into the rotation zone today against key support and the second target of the double. So yesterday's high matters on a closing basis for the micro yields. 4.239. If it does not close above there, there is no bounce play from a percent B perspective. Crude, again, we have the percent B below zero. Yesterday's high matters. Yesterday's high of 66.39. Today's high, 66.42, and we've already been rejected, but I'm keeping an eye on this going into the EIA numbers. And if it can't follow through on a close, it's nothing. Why? It didn't get quite yet back to the 66.75, but we do have a potential bounce buy setup. That's for a bounce play only, and that is aggressive. Why is it aggressive? Because it's in consolidation, and the key level I'm focusing on, if this does trigger, is 66.75 area, is the first target area. That's how I structure it. Tight stop on that one, though, from my perspective. Gold, again, if you're trying to force something in gold right now, there is nothing. There is nothing. Sloppy double. Potential, I should call it a potential double. Still valid. You always got to test stuff out. It's lopsided. It's sloppy. It would just be for a breakdown retracement. That doesn't, again, would I be looking on gold for a short-term trade today? No. Little potential maybe bounce in copper, but nothing to talk about there. Dollar index breaking down, could not hold support today. So there's nothing for me to look at with the dollar besides the potential bigger pullback. And if we close below 97.39, then I'm really watching for a retest of the low area between July 23rd and back to July 1st. Euro breaking out again, resistance still after hitting the first target. Still 116.65 is the key and validation point for this. Spiders, again, I'm paying attention to the S&P more so than this today. We don't have a great thing. If you're looking just only at the spiders, I'd be looking at about 627.90 to 628, or to breakout play above 629.85 area. Other than that, it's in consolidation. The Qs, breakdown play, it's really based off these lows, 559.85, or to breakout play. The first area is above 562, but then it has to follow through above 563.20. We'll get to the other things. What else? Just peeking into Bitcoin. Not much to talk about. You still do have a potential mini double. Other than that, there's nothing going on in Bitcoin. I know we wanted Apple with the announcement today. Again, it's stalled out at the first target, but this is a slight bounce only. This might be another sell the news event. If it does run, pay very close attention to about 208.60 to 70 area. Maybe drop it down a bit, about 208.50. 208.50. We're still well below that. I will still be watching for rollover plays in consolidation with Apple. There is nothing much. The only thing, and this would be very short term, it's tried to break above these key areas that formed a double. The only short-term bullish thing for me is if it gets above about 215.50 with the target of the 200. That's it. And we're nowhere near that. Other than that, I'm focusing on rollover plays. It does take thousands. I have no, boy. I mean, just add up the time I've done live streams. Just take the time I've done live streams since when? When did I start these live streams on YouTube? I don't even remember anymore. It's been a long time. But if you take the number of days I do this, just the time I'm here on live stream, look at the hours that are put in there. And the consistency. Yes, you must have at least a part-time job to cover expenses. Completely agree. Pi Network. Has it done anything? It's nothing I look at. Which one do we want? I'll do it versus US dollar, not crap with you still don't have the bullish move. Keeps breaking down. Again, if you're looking, this is not, if you're looking to do anything on the bullish side, there isn't anything here. There isn't anything here. It can't sustain any moves. So, I mean, it now is broken key support. Yeah, you might get to a mini double bottom that may never trigger. Other than that, this thing could just keep grinding lower. It's way below its launch price. Again. So, I mean, most people aren't doing anything on the short side in cryptos. So this thing could easily go down to 0.2378. And then there's this thing could eventually go to zero, but 0.0756. If you're paying attention to something, bare minimum, look at the weekly rotation zone. I mean, on any rally, it can't even get its key resistance is the 8 EMA, and it just keeps grinding lower. This is not a good sign, though. This was prior really strong support that it was broken. So that becomes key resistance with the 8 EMA. There is nothing there to the bullish side. You could get little pops, but again, if you get a little pop, that 8 EMA on the weekly is very key. Get away. See, I need to get away from the screen and talk to people too. What else do we have? Look like along in MLI. They are among the biggest U.S. producers of refined copper products. Thank you for putting that in there. That was not on my radar screen. Look at that, too. Percent B buy triggered on Monday. Percent B buy triggered on Monday. Drop back to the weekly rotation zone. Wow, Christoph, that's a nice. Again, we cannot make trade recommendations here. You have to do your own analysis just like Christoph did, but I'm liking that chart. I am liking that chart. Thank you for putting that in there, Christoph. That one was not on my radar screen. Also, closed multiple weeks ago, back at the beginning of July, above the 62.5, basing at the prior breakout level. So this was resistance, retested with the rising rotation zone, and then percent B buy. So again, I know where a stop would go for me, but that is a really nice looking chart. 89, just above this 89, 89.32 key first target, at least to raise a stop. And then 93 would be at least another key target. If it turns into a long-term hold, you do your reverse harmonics, and there are your next key areas. And by the way, when I see something at 156, my target is right in front of 100 to make at least to move a stop. So there's the dissection of that chart. That's really nice. Back here was a nice percent B buy too on the weekly basis. I talked about that on Futures Ed. Love percent B buys on stocks on a weekly basis. Love them. They are fantastic. What else? See, there's your problem. All right. If it's, well, why you know what? Just trade smaller and trade swing setups. I don't understand. Why do people have to day trade? Trade smaller and trade on the 4-hour and daily time frame. Watch for setups on those and trade smaller. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I said it could bounce. It could very well bounce, but would it be a long-term bounce? Not yet, Fragrance World. See, there you go. Sterling works very hard, and he has a full-time job with Toyota. Yep. See, he sets alarms and waits. I only day trade futures when patterns trigger on slow days. Other than that, he sits on his hands and waits. I just had an alert go off. Look at all my alerts. Look at all my alerts. Why do you think I have alerts going off? Because it means I get to go look at the chart. Does it mean there's a trade there? I don't know. It means I set that level to look for something. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. People have to learn. Let the setups come to you. Okay, let the setups come to you. Like here. I didn't highlight it yesterday. I think we talked about this. Did I bring this up on Futures Edge? It's all becoming a blur now. But this was a percent. I think I did because I know I mentioned this because it had to retest that high area and you had to be very aggressive on this. But it was or you just buy on the close because you can always do that on a percent B buy. Strong bottoming candle. Percent B buy. Remember, I was looking into the weekly rotation zone. We finally got that uranium. Now has followed through. So that's where it sits right there. There was another one. If that's not your kind of setup, then you wait for something else. But now I know, by the way, if based off this is definitely, once it got above the 62.5, you have to be more aggressive with a stop raise. Going into a prior key area, I'm still looking for 41.57 on the short-term bounce. We're right near a cluster here. And then the potential breakout play with trailing a stop. The intermediate levels for at least moving up stops are there. The major level is 44.25. Remember, we stalled out the prior harmonic. Again, not a trade recommendation. Don't chase this now. No, I'm just, again, showing you so you can put, if you want to learn a potential setup that you can research, there you go. That's not true. You can. It's a tough career. And it's harder to trade on a shorter term basis. I'm telling, that's a true statement. Trading on a 5 or 15-minute chart is a lot harder than trading on a daily chart. All right? It's just the nature of it. That's why, again, I stress to people, do your analysis on the longer term charts. And if you want to day trade, then wait for the setups on key areas on the daily and 4-hour charts. And then drop down in time frame and look for entries. Sterling, here. See, this is why I like results from people, because Sterling's not going to bullshit people in here. My trading account is up over 55% this year doing it this way. Overall account is up 102% year to date. There you go. And you can see Sterling's in here unless work gets in the way, but he says if he's busy at work, you know what, he watches for the longer term things. On slower days he can do some day trades, but he waits for the setups. Again, he puts stocks in here. He puts other stuff. What I'm trying to teach in here is consistency. I don't care if you look at my setups or whatever. Do I flip around? Do you see different things on my charts every day? Do I go, today we're looking at the MACDs. Oh, now we're looking at the ADX. Now we're looking at this. Now we're looking at whatever. Geez, I just blanked out on the style of channel that some people looked at. But you know what? It's consistency. You don't need 18,000 setups. You need to master a couple and then let the trades come to you. And trade with the trend. And when you have doubles against the trend, use them for pullback levels. Risk management is key. And knowing where your stops are and be willing to take a loss. All right? All right. With that, we'll be back tomorrow. Remember, unemployment numbers tomorrow. People will be really looking at those closer because of the non-farm payrolls last Friday. So we might get, especially if they do miss, you might get more of a reaction. That's where that's what I'll leave you with all today. Thank you for tuning in. Again, Darkstream, I wish you the best of luck in your pursuits. And I shall talk to everyone later. Bye for now.